Faith is the most powerful force in the universe. It's creative, and it will simply respond to which thoughts we pay attention to. I think it's probably the most misunderstood reality of existence, but it will simply respond to where our thoughts take things. So I love this statement by Victor Hugo, who was a very intelligent guy, lived through a lot of challenging experiences in life himself. And this is what he said: "He who every morning plans the transactions of the day and carries out that plan has a thread that will guide him through the maze of the most busy life. But where no plan is laid, where the disposal of time is surrendered merely to the chance of incidents, chaos will soon reign." What I've come to believe in working with so many different people who have struggled in life is that the struggles come from not understanding how to proactively choose which direction to go in life. It's simply so much happens from the outside that now we understand that the limbic system is very easily manipulated, very easily swayed to one thing or another that's not really helpful to us in the long run, that we understand why it happens. Now, if we take charge of this part of our brain, we're aware of the limbic, we acknowledge it when it does its thing, which it will always continue to do. We learn to surrender and just let it be, let it do its thing. Mindfully, we practice setting forth the ideas that we want to work on. And now we come to the fifth and final key strategy, which is creating your future vision statement. And this will guide you for the rest of your life. It's a living, breathing document that can change from time to time. And as we get into the workbook exercise, I will explain that in more detail. But as a concept, I hope that you have the confidence in this power. I mean, creating a vision statement and a vision board can totally transform your life. Just one simple story from my life. It was actually in 2003, I created a vision board, my first vision board, because I heard about them. So I put a number of things on the vision board, number of pictures. I still have them to this day. One was a series of cabins that, I love the feeling that cabins in the woods give you and the mountains give you. And so I go, someday I'm going to be there. I don't know how, I don't know when that's going to happen, but I love that, and someday I'm going to be there. And then I went about my regular daily activities. We didn't have any cabins in our families. My parents didn't have any cabins. They weren't wealthy in that sense that we had land everywhere, things like that. And I really had nothing to do with that. And about a year ago, I was approached with an amazing job opportunity that I absolutely love, working for a foundation that's dedicated to healing, helping the healing process of women who have been sexually abused. And this healing environment, so we take the women to these retreats and introduce them to a lot of similar information that you have learned, but it's related specifically to trauma. And then we introduce them to all sorts of different exercises like yoga, Muay Thai, mindfulness, grounding techniques, breathing techniques, and so forth. But anyway, guess where we have these retreats? It's in a beautiful cabin. And it's up in the mountains. And if you were to see the picture of my future vision statement, the future vision board, and see where I'm at right now, I show it to the ladies when I'm giving presentations and teaching this concept, and they're just like absolutely amazed. It's almost identical to the T of what I had in my pictures. A pool table's in the cabin, a big, huge dinner table with a number of people, red couches, wood all throughout, wood stairs going up. And the picture in my vision statement or vision board and what actually has transpired is almost identical. and there's other things that have transpired. But here's the issue. There's something called the law of incubation, and why so many people get frustrated with vision boards and maybe, don't put a lot of weight into them is because they're impatient. They think that things should happen on their timetable, but that's not how it happens. That's where the surrender comes in. We gotta put our dream out there, and I'll teach you how to do that. And then you just gotta go to work, do the very best that you can in whatever endeavor you're doing. And I was working at a job that was a really good job at the time that I created the vision statement, but I wasn't really truly happy there. I mean, it wasn't my bliss in life. What I'm doing now is, and that's what I put on my vision statement. But here's the thing. It took, I think 11 years. All of a sudden, that just came about. And it came about totally unexpected. And it happened very quickly. And it's just absolutely amazing to me as I look back on my vision statements and vision board and go, goodness, all this stuff has come to pass. And plus, there's other things that I have on there that are in the process of coming to pass. So I know that this stuff works. But you got to be patient. You can't just expect things just to happen out of nowhere. So I'm not a believer in, I'm just going to believe that $10 million is going to show up in my mailbox. That stuff doesn't work. It's you create your vision and then go to work. You work hard, you believe, you consistently practice these principles of getting better and better, and then you will see the miracles start to transform in your life. And so part of your vision statement is to picture yourself being healthy, strong, vibrant, and addiction-free, as in you're not acting out on your addiction. Not that you're not triggered from time to time, but your behavior is managed. So the process of change is just what I said it was, a process. It happens throughout time, through the journey that we're engaged in. And the daily planning sheet that you will be introduced to in this section will teach you how to be more fully engaged in the process and monitor yourself and your progress on a regular basis. And also, if the progress isn't what you want it to be, learning to give yourself, don't beat yourself up. I was going to say give yourself a break. Don't give yourself a break, because you need to be accountable for any inappropriate behaviors according to your own standards, but you can't totally beat yourself up because of it, because that doesn't work. So be compassionate toward yourself, understanding how challenging it is to manage the limbic part of the brain in the world in which we live, because the world in which we live caters to that part of the brain. Everything that we see in marketing and advertising, on our television programs, online, on our phones, and all those things, it's about instant gratification. We no longer have the patience to deal with things. And the real challenge, what's coming down the road, is that the culture being raised, our young kids growing up with their phones and iPads and all of that, they have a difficult time having face-to-face communication with other people. People don't talk on the phone anymore. And the latest statistics that I've read about email, only 30% of people answer their email, whereas 97% of text are responded to very, very quickly. So, we've got some interesting things coming down the road, but being more engaged in the process and what all this entails, and understanding how our brain works, can help us raise our families and protect them and do the things we need to do to stay grounded in the right course. So we have two sets of eyes. We have our physical eyes and then also our spiritual eyes. And what we see with our physical eyes around us, we take in, our brain processes. But here's the really interesting thing. When we close our eyes and visualize things, like if I'm to ask you to visualize a red Volkswagen or whatever, your mind can actually picture that. And as you create your future vision statements, to state it clearly, precisely, in the present tense, and then add pictures in your mind to it. That's why we create a vision board to mimic the pictures that you can have in your mind. And then if you add emotion to those pictures, where you go in your mind's eye and you actually see and feel and taste and experience what you desire in the future, it ignites a process that expands and increases the velocity that these things will be realized. And I'll end this little segment by the following quote that I love from Johann van Gogh when he said, "Everyone holds his fortune in his own hands. Like a sculptor, the raw material he will fashion into a figure. We are merely born with the capability to do it. The skill to mold the material into what we want must be learned and attentively cultivated." Isn't that interesting that he's using a mindfulness statement and attentively cultivated? All change happens through repetition and consistent practices that we choose ourselves rather than simply responding to things. So there's a difference between being proactive and reactive. To be reactive simply means that we're constantly responding to what's happening in the world around us. To be proactive means, no, we're setting our course. To be reactive, it's like a ship on the ocean that has no sail, no motor, no rudder, and it's just responding to the waves and the tides that come and constantly battening down the hatches if a storm's coming. To be proactive, I'm going from point A to point B, and I'm going to be aware of the storms that are coming, and I'll be a mindful warrior and navigate away from the crazy things that are coming. I'm not going to go into the eye of the storm, and I'm going to figure out my way around it. There is also another great statement, great quote by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. It says, "I'm not afraid of storms, for I'm learning how to sail my ship."